Hey everyone, welcome to the Hangar. This is episode 12, and I'm sitting here with our next guest. It's a really cool story. You guys are gonna really love it. But I'm gonna have him introduce himself. But uh, one of the really neat things that MAF really wants to do when they're working overseas is kind of help strengthen the nationals that they work with, so the staff that they hire when it comes to things like mechanic work or even like exploring what it'd be like to be a pilot. Simply, and even people who work in the office in administration, they always want to try to bolster them up, strengthen them, enable them to advance in their career if they so choose to advance. And I'm sitting here with a young gentleman named Zacharie Francois, super cool dude. But I'm gonna leave it there, and he can tell me or tell us about his life. So Zachary, why don't you just introduce yourself? Tell us where you grew up, where you were born, and what your current role is right now at
Yeah.
MAF.
No, my name is Zacharie Francois, and I'm a Haitian, born and raised in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, my home country. And I'm currently a pilot mechanic for MAF, serving with them in Haiti.
Okay, that's a very very short and condensed description. There's so much to unpack there. But the question I want to ask is like, how did you even like get introduced to MAF? Like, what was that connection?
Started with my family, actually. So both my parents, my mom and my dad, both work for MAF families as housekeeping and house cleaning folks.
Okay.
And so I kind of was born in that missionary MAF bucket-ish because they did work for other other missionary families, I must
Okay.
say.
Well, how long have they been with MAF then?
Ooh, that's a good question. Before I was born, so over 27,
Oh
28
wow.
years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because fun fact, the former program manager for MF Haiti drove my mom to the hospital for my birth.
Oh my
So
goodness. Wow.
picture now that I'm working on a plane that he's gonna fly. The thoughts he must be having
Dude,
is like,
that's so
this is
cool.
so
Man,
interesting.
that's so awesome. Okay, sorry, I kind of jumped the gun there. So yeah,
Hmm.
they worked for MAF as you
Correct.
say groundskeepers.
Yeah, housekeeping and
Housekeeping.
yard
Okay.
keeping folks. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And then you just did they live on the grounds as well?
Yes, we did live with with one family, the White, Will and Julie White.
Okay.
So we lived in the same yard with them, grew up with them, and obviously hanged out with their kids.
So yeah, tell me what that was like growing up with a missionary family, especially the Whites. You know, the Whites are pretty great family.
They are. No, it was phenomenal. Especially how God allowed both families to basically become one family.
Hmm.
To the point, I'm not saying that that's a good thing, but William and I, Will's son, we both have the same handwriting. Now, my handwriting's bad, so I'll let you guess William's handwriting too. But no, it was phenomenal. So many memories, so many experiences, and just strong cross culture upbringing for sure.
Oh, really? Can you give us an example of kind of like a memory that maybe kind of tied into that cross cultural upbringing?
So I picked up English basically when I was born, and I hanged out with Americans,
Mm,
the whites, and so that allowed me to know the American side and know the English side.
okay.
But then I went to Haitian school and had the Creole and then the French and all of that
Yeah.
side, and so I had the double culture thing going on there. But it did allow me to understand both sides of the spectrum
Oh, interesting.
when it came to culture, because the U.S. tend to be more of a cold culture, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
really?
Where it's more task oriented versus task and time oriented.
Uh-huh.
I should say. And Haiti is more of a warm culture where it's more people oriented.
Okay.
So growing up, I got to see both of these, and they both have their pros and cons for sure.
Okay. Oh, interesting. So like, yeah. Oh man, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
For you to bring that up. Um, can you like? I'm just curious. Like, can you give me like a really like a just a fun memory from your childhood, growing up?
Mm. Off the top of my head, other than airsoft, where we did quite a bit, I would say pool. So MF had a pool across the street from where I grew up, and we went to the pool a lot. And we actually came up with our own game. We call it soccer, but it was basically you had a ball, and then you were trying to get to the other side of the pool and get it in this little net thing that we had made. So we had other missionary kids and other neighbors, all of us in the pool, sometimes up to 10 of us in the pool, playing this game where you could
Wow.
drag another one underwater or try and rip it from their hands.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the pool and all the wrestling. Yeah, that I'm sure that just gave peace of mind to all the parents that were just watching
I'm
this
sure
happen.
they did.
No, actually, I grew up with a pool in our backyard too, and we invite all the cousins to
Mm-hmm.
come, and there was so much wrestling and
Involved,
like
yeah.
close calls. Like I think about that, and I have my own kids now, and I'm like, would I even allow something like that to happen? Like,
Mm-hmm.
allow that kind of like roughhousing in the pool, and I'm like, probably, but it is a little unnerving, kind of thinking about my childhood, and like, I drank a lot of pool water. I'll just say that. Just drank a lot of pool water.
Likewise. Likewise. There were a time like I would hold the ball and I get dragged under. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna let go, but I'm gonna drown, but not gonna let go.
Because the game, it's all about the game.
It's all about the
It's
game.
about the glory.
It's all about the game.
Yeah, totally.
You just gotta fight for it.
Yeah.
It's life or death.
So it sounds like, I mean, like going into like that family, it sounds like the MAF family and like the MAF staff, or I guess let's see, the MAF missionaries,
Mm-hmm.
along with the national staff, like really had like this close like family.
Just
family
to some
culture.
extent, yeah. Yeah.
Like
I
they
would
would all
say
come
so.
together and go in the pool and play and stuff
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
What was that like with like the white family
Mhm.
and then like your family being so close in proximity? Like, did you see a lot of like intertwining of your guys' daily
Lives.
life? And
To some extent, I would say so. There's a lot of intertwining and a lot of, to some extent, doing stuff together, even and hanging out. Where, like William's mom, Julie, was kind of my mom, and my mom, Christine, was kind of William's mom also. So there are certain things that, so like sleepover, for example,
yeah,
has a Haitian in our culture. We don't do sleepover. And so in order for me to go to sleepover, it was Julie, who was familiar with the sleepover, who had to make the call, in a sense. And there's some
Okay.
other stuff like, going out to the ravine nearby, right? Because my mom is familiar with the streets. Now it was my mom making the decision, can William kind of
Okay.
go and that. So there's this sharing of parenting
yeah,
that was happening
Yeah.
also.
yeah. Looking back on that, like, do you look fondly back on that and just
I do. I had an amazing childhood. I would not change it for anything else.
well, as you got older, obviously you're right. You told us that you're a pilot and mechanic
Correct, yep.
with MAF. Like, at what was that point where you started getting into aviation?
It was, so I must say, growing up, I was not interested into aviation, despite growing up around MF families and knowing about aviation and seeing those pilots.
Did you ever go to the hangars or see the planes?
A
and
couple
stuff?
times, yeah, a couple times. My first time was in 2004, actually. It was after the UN had first arrived, so they had some UE helicopters and military planes.
Okay.
I just, as a kid, you're like, this is amazing. But was never really interested in it because I love history a lot. And still today, I still believe if you could teach someone their past and help them understand what was done or what can be done, they could understand the present, and also they could learn them from the mistakes that they made in the past and plan for the future. So I was really into that mindset of, if I could become a historian, teach my people, the Haitians, their history, their proud history. I mean, we were the first Black republic to gain their freedom in the world. And we helped free the Dominican, Colombia, Venezuela, and I think Ecuador also. So we have a rich history. And I was really like, okay, if I could bring that up and like have people be proud of being Haitians and fight for that, perhaps we could start bringing some changes. But God had different plans for me.
That's really cool, though. I mean, like, what a great passion to kind of bring into into missions, essentially.
Correct,
you
yeah.
know? But yeah, like going back to that question. About
Going back to your
aviation,
question, it was my first flight.
with MAF.
It's always your first flight.
Yeah.
So Will White took my family and his family in a Cessna 206, kind of like the plane behind me there.
Nice.
And having grown up in Port-au-Prince, I'm used to the city life. I like my city life, but not that exposed to the countryside to some extent. And when we take off, and I could still close my eyes and remember, we took off and we turned left and we're going north. And then Haiti has mountains. A lot of people don't know Haiti is the most mountainous land in the entire Caribbean.
Okay.
So just mountains after mountains for
Did
as
not
far
know
as your
that.
eyes could see. So we're taking off, we're flying over these mountains. The texture of the land is just so beautiful, Lem. It's just breathtaking. And we're flying over these. I'm like, wow, God, my country's absolutely beautiful. But then I could see one house on top of this mountain, one house on top of this mountain. It's like, oh, there is quite the isolation happening here. Because Port-au-Prince, it's packed. It's 2.9 million people.
Yeah.
So I'm used to seeing a lot of stuff, but not that separation. And then we landed in Pion. I was able to see how... Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. We have water.
Oh.
And I never gave it to you. There's water on the shelves up there.
Oh,
yeah. Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks, Chad.
What I was saying was, we landed up in Pion I'm at the airstrip, and then seeing how the plane itself is, it's a grass runway in the middle of nowhere, basically. But we're able to fly in with supplies and items, and just seeing how people receive the plane, imagining what the plane can do is just phenomenal. It's like, wow, God, okay, thanks for showing me that. But then seeing the Christian perspective of the Christians living up there, the missionary that's been up there for years and years on, and I realized how, to some extent, a Christian perspective in an area can bring a meaningful difference in people's life. And mission aviation itself can change the ending of just so many isolated people out there. And that was that flight allowing me to see that. And so on the flight back to Port-au-Prince, God started touching my heart and was like, hey, perhaps, just perhaps, you could become MAF's first Haitian missionary pilot mechanic. And I was thinking about it throughout the flight. And I landed back in Port-au-Prince. I was like, this is not going to happen. And my main reason was, my dad only made it to second grade. The moment he was able to work, he had to go work to help support the family. My mom only made it to ninth grade. The guy who was paying school for her because his family couldn't afford to do that got assassinated, so he couldn't go to school. She couldn't go to school anymore. And I was on track to being the first to graduate from high school on both sides of my family. And I was already struggling with high school.
Yeah.
So in my brain, it's like,
you're not the only one on this episode that struggled in high school. I'll just tell you that. Anyway,
I admire those who could score like up there. It's like, good for you. Good for you.
Oh, here, let me. Guys, you're seeing a little bit of these behind the scenes stuff.
Yes.
Here you go.
Thank you. Get some water quick.
While you're doing that, so I think that's one of the, like, you talking about how God was telling you, like, hey, maybe you can be the first Haitian missionary pilot. And I think that's just like, it's such a unique part of who you are. I think God is like really trailblazing that movement, and someone's got to be the first. And it's really cool that, you get to be that first person. And I get to be the one that talks to you about it too. It's so cool. But anyway, keep going. I want to.
Where was I at? So I was doubting God, and don't do that. Please don't do that. But I did, and I took his call and just threw it away, and just kept on going through high school. I'm like, God, I'm just gonna keep on going through this path. And then later on, as I was advancing in high school, I was like, within reach of my parents' economy state, I could become a meteorologist or just something simple like that. Because Haiti is on the path of hurricane every single year, and every single year.
A meteorologist would be a very practical, very useful position to be in.
Big time. I can't tell you how many times, like, a hurricane's coming through. My grandma, she lives out in the countryside. We'll call her up. We're like, Grandma, a hurricane's coming. She's like, oh, we haven't heard anything. I'm like, that's the problem. We need meteorologists that could pass on these information and tell them, by the way, this is a category 5 or category 4. It's like this so-and-so hurricane from X years ago, to get them prepared, because a lot of people just get caught off guard every single time. So I kept on going through high school that way.
So that's how you got through high school?
I was just thinking about, I'll just become a meteorologist.
Oh, I see. Okay.
When I graduate from high school.
So how was going through high school and getting to the finish line? Like you, yeah.
Let's just say God provided. Almost got stuck. I actually failed one of the government exam. That would have been 12th grade. So in Haiti, we go up to 13th grade. So I failed the 12th grade exam, and it's a government exam where you go to a different school. It's a national exam. Then you take it there.
Okay.
And then you pass or fail. But they do have a grace, I must say, in it, where if you score, let's say if the passing score is 600 points, if you score 550, then they'll let you retake the test.
Okay.
So I scored just enough that I was allowed to retake the test.
Yeah.
And thankfully I passed. Out of the 11 students in my class that had to retake, only 2 of us passed, and I was one of them.
Wow.
So I'm very grateful that God came through and allowed me to make it through that.
That's awesome.
Hump.
Dude, that's great. That's so great.
Yeah.
And that you graduating high school and everything, was that kind of like the next step that really opened up the doors to pursue aviation?
It did. Graduated and was thinking again meteorology.
Yeah.
And then one of the MF families, she lived across the street from us. We were not in talking terms because she was neighbors to the pool house, and when we go to the pool, we'd make noise. She had babies and wake up the babies, so she would come over and say, "Stop making noise or stop playing." We're like, "We want to have fun."
Oh man, and this is the person that like
this is the person that God reached out to. For 2 weeks, God reached out to her 2 weeks. Every single day, God's like, "Go talk to Zacharie about this missionary aviation thing." She's like, "No, God." God just kept on going at it. And finally, she caved in and approached me. And I was going out, and she approached me out in the middle of the road. She's like, "Hey, hi." I'm like, "What do you need?" And she mentioned God told me to talk to her. I'm like, I really have to listen now.
Yeah.
And we became super close friends. I'm not a big book reader, but she writes a book, and I will get a copy from time to time before it's even published and kind of take a look at it and give her my feedback on it.
Yeah.
Her kids call me uncle. So we became very close friends as we started working together. But it was through her that we started working together towards seeing how I could become a missionary pilot mechanic.
Oh wow. And what kind of things that did she work on with you to see?
A lot of it was written English.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I knew how to speak English ever since I was born, basically. But writing it was a whole different game, because writing French and writing English is different. English writing is very straightforward, straight to the point. Writing French, there's always all this fluffiness, all this extra stuff. It's a love language, right?
It sounds like the French language. Yeah.
Yeah, English is a business language. So.
Yeah.
But we worked a lot on that. We did a lot of Bible studies together. And then we started trying to raise support because my family couldn't afford to send me to this. And so we started working together, trying to see who could we contact, churches, government offices, and businesses, and try and raise support so I could go to, initially it was Moody Aviation School. I had applied, been accepted there, but Moody is not cheap. It's an amazing school, 5 years, but it's quite pricey. But they do offer you a lot for that price.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, I was going through that and was not able to get any money to come in.
Yeah.
MAF at that point had set up an account here that people could donate directly into, which was huge.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
just
super
phenomenal
cool.
that they actually did that for me. And that was when I started interning at MAF in Haiti.
Oh, okay.
I did it for about 2 years. And while I was interning, regional director for MAF flew down to Haiti to tell me about the school in Michigan called the School of Missionary Aviation Technology.
Yeah.
Now, the funny thing about that, I know my maps very well, but the U.S. map, he's like, okay, the school is located near Grand Rapids, and he did this. If you're from Michigan, you know what this means.
Yep.
I'm looking at him like, why is he putting his hand up? So confused. And he's like, Michigan is near Chicago. Now, for any foreigner who's never been to the U.S., our image of the U.S. is based off of movies. So Home Alone, and those type of movies.
So New York,
Miami, California, Chicago, anywhere else. Like if you mention
Yeah.
Nebraska, you're not in the U.S. for us.
Yeah.
So when you mentioned Chicago, I thought Chicago was a state and that Michigan was a city in the state of Chicago.
Oh,
and he was
funny.
just so confused now. And then I was like, and he mentioned the Great Lakes. I'm like, Mississippi River? Like, nope. Not even close. So finally, he pulled out Google Maps and showed me it. I was like, oh, I see. There's a whole world up there.
Yeah.
And I found out I knew a lot of people that went there. I mean, I don't have family in the U.S., but Michigan just feels like home because of the people that I know there and I got to know there. But anyhow, jumping forward here, go back when you told us about the school. We prayed about it, applied, got accepted, blanked. Within 7 months, had all the funds.
Wow.
Churches I never knew, people I never knew.
That's amazing. What?
It just happened. It's like, okay, God, I guess that's where you've wanted me to go.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
neat thing about SMAT, it does what Moody does. So Moody does it in 5 years, SMAT does it in 2 years. So it's very intense. The maintenance program is 12 months. The flight program is 12 months also.
Wow.
And you're in a crock pot, pressure cooker. What term would you use for that?
It depends on, we'll use both.
Okay. Basically, you're being cooked for 12 months.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember maintenance, we only had 11 days off throughout the 365 days that you're in there.
Yeah.
But it is ridiculously cheap for what they're able to provide. I'm still amazed by the quality of pilots and mechanics they're able to produce in 12 months and at the price they were able to do it.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. That's
went
great.
to the U.S. for the first time in 2018, went to SMAT. And that's how I kind of started becoming a mechanic for MAF.
That's cool. And just thinking about that MAF missionary that, was convicted by God to talk to you. Man, that's so cool. And then she helped you teach or helped you learn English, like writing and stuff. That must have been so huge to do that. That's so awesome. Well, what about like aviation is just like one aspect of, of MAF, the other aspect is it's a
Christian.
ministry, right? It's Christian. Like, did MAF missionaries out there, did they help kind of like, kind of disciple you? Was there someone that kind of helped disciple you in your faith?
Yeah.
What tell me about that?
My mom is Christian. My dad was not Christian for most of his life. His family they're very big on voodoo. But my mom's family, they've had missionaries, pastors going way back. So I grew up going to church and every Sunday and doing everything quote unquote right. But never owned my faith, if that makes sense. It was more like, this is my parents' faith, this is my parents' church.
Yeah.
Until I started going to youth group at the American church that I was in town. So I was going to the Haitian church, but I was going to youth group to an American church, and it was just phenomenal. We had a youth group of 60 kids. We had Haitians, Dominicans, Canadians, Americans, and Panamanians in there. So 5 nationalities, 60 kids of your age. So you have the cross culture that as a teenager you're dealing with. But in addition, they're your age also. They're in Haiti also. So there's lots of connections and understanding that could happen. And then our youth pastor was just down to earth. He wanted to he got to know everybody. He played games with us. He understood us. It was just phenomenal.
That's awesome.
So it was through the youth group that I really owned my faith. I got baptized through the youth group.
What was so different about that youth group that made you understand the idea of owning your faith?
Because you're away from your parents, now you have to do it on your own, if that makes sense. So they had a lot of activities that you could have skipped on it. Frankly, you could have said, I'm not going to do it, or I'm not going to do this project, or stay out of this activity. But you started feeling like, you know what, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of the Christian family. I want to have Jesus' life as my savior. I want to follow him. And they just did a lot of stuff. One of them I could think of right now is some reading. We're not I'm not a big book reader, but I read the entire Narnia book series over the course of the summer. And it was a Bible study that we had done through that.
Okay.
So we would read the book, come in, do Bible study, and back and forth.
Yeah.
And that was just amazing. Again, I had to really want to do this to do it.
Yeah.
And to be in that position of asking yourself, do I really want this or not? And choosing, yes, I really want this. And that's how God kind of started working in my life through that.
That's cool. That's actually really neat to hear about, because like, the desire to follow Christ is a big part of faith, right? It's
big time.
And so, that's just really cool. That's awesome. Okay. So, I mean, you touched, like in that whole story, you touched that you went through SMAT.
Maintenance,
Whatever. What's SMAT? School of
Missionary Aviation Technology,
And you went in 2018.
2018, came out in 2019.
Yeah. Okay. So we're in 2024 now, like, and you're an MAF pilot mechanic.
Yes.
what's the next steps for you, like in this ministry?
Next step for me would be starting basic NDOC, so the internal flight training for MAF.
Okay.
And that's another thing that SMAT really prepared me for, because their training is geared towards mission aviation. And a lot of stuff they taught us on that SMAT, I show up here and they're talking, I'm like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've done this before, 80-20. Yeah, I like that. So that's kind of what's next for me. And I have security training. I love MAF for how much they train and prepare you for stuff. Their security training is just amazing.
Oh, you're going to go through security training?
Yes. I'm looking forward to the driving part, because I do it in Haiti on a daily basis. But doing it here in a safe environment is going to be fun.
Well, we'll do a bonus episode with you after you do security training and be like, how are you doing?
How are you doing?
Because you're just like drinking your water like this. No, it is really actually very, that aspect of the training is
big training.
Is big.
And then I also have director of maintenance training happening at the end of all of that also, and some maintenance reoccurring training that needs to take place. And I probably might be working on some MF Haiti airplanes, because as you know, we have 2 MF Haiti airplanes here.
Yeah.
And as we're working towards reopening the program, these planes will eventually have to be back in Haiti. And so since I'm here, I might just work on some of them and even maybe fly one of them down.
Yeah. So actually, when you speak of that, I guess my question would be like, where are you going? I guess, like, where is MAF sending you? Are they sending you back to Haiti, or are you going to a different?
The current plan is back to Haiti. Okay. It would take a lot for MAF to not reopen up the MF Haiti program, because we still feel convicted. We still feel a piece of God that we want to be there. We need to be there.
Yeah.
And so we're still going to be actively trying to reopen the program. But if for some reason we can't, despite all of our best effort, and God tells us, take a pause from it, then I probably go to a different program for the time being.
Well, I mean, like you said, I think it's going to take a lot for them not to reopen it. But I think one of the cool things about like what spurred you to even go into mission aviation was seeing your own country from above and seeing just how much impact an airplane can make on your country. And you want to do that. You want to go back and serve your own country. And I think that's just like, that's awesome. It's just it's so great. And I just think it's one of the coolest things. Just seeing your heart for your own people. And speaking of like the program reopening, like we had that episode, I guess it was a couple episodes ago at this point, with Dave Simon and Andrew Sutton talking about how they're like making moves to reopen the program. It's been 3 months now since they went back out there, and it's there's been some happenings in Haiti since then that's kind of put kind of a hold on not just like the program opening, but just the country as a whole. If you don't mind me asking, like, how are you doing with everything that's going on?
Well, I'm doing all right, I would say, but I've seen better days.
Yeah.
It just weighs a lot. Yeah, it just weighs a lot, especially not being there. My family's all there. They're all in the capital. Now, granted, where they're at is relatively safe, but at any moment things could change and they could expand to their area. But it's just seeing the state of the country, and it's like it just hurts.
Yeah.
Because outside of Port-au-Prince, life is good. Life is fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have friends and families that are living out in the countryside. I know a lot of missionaries that are still actively working out there. And you talk to them, they're like, yeah, we were out in town 10, 11 o'clock last night. The kids went to the beach.
Okay.
Or they went hiking, or cave exploring and so on. And even in Port-au-Prince, there's still some pockets where, like, I have friends that are like, oh no, grocery stores we're still open. But it's just those little blocks of areas that are just basically a war zone.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what gets the attention of the worldwide news too, right? Yeah. So it's great to, hear that that Haiti is a beautiful country, and there's so much of it. There's so much vast areas that is great. Like there's life thriving.
There's life. Oh yeah.
So hopefully that's some hope.
Yes.
For for you and and your family and MAF staff and those who are praying for that country. Like any country, there's beauty and there's ugliness. There's both, and
it's a balance.
But I mean, thank you for sharing. I mean, like I know that can be pretty heavy, and so, but like I have to ask the question, you know, like, so I did want to ask you about kind of support raising.
Yeah.
Before you're gonna go out to the field now, I mean, like it's also kind of an interesting dynamic that like you're a Haitian-born person. But you joined a ministry that's U.S. based, and you're going around the U.S. raising support. But it's not necessarily like your home country. You know, like how has that? I mean, how has that been? Like, is it strange, or is it just like it's not really a big deal at all?
Strange, yes and no. A blessing, I must say, because I get to see the U.S.
Yeah.
Definitely, I've been seeing how God provides through that. So, like I said, I don't have family in the U.S. So I have to rely on friends and connections that I made when I was in school, connections that I made with the church that I attended up in Michigan.
Yeah.
So my support raising started in Naples, Florida, because the pastor there planted my church in Michigan. So I started in Naples, and then now I was in Michigan.
Okay.
And with friends from SMAT church and other connections, and lots of Haiti connections. I was surprised by how many people I met that or actively working in Haiti, or have flown MAF, or have used MAF service in Haiti or in Congo, or along these countries. And so that was Michigan. Friends, and I call them family because I feel like my church there in Michigan is like family. And then once I left Michigan, I went to the Smoky Mountain area, so North and South Carolina, Tennessee-ish. And basically after Michigan, it was like, I know one person in one town. And I would call them up and like, hey, look, this is what's happening. I'm trying to raise the support. Can you like gather some friends, or can you talk to your pastor, or can you allow me to speak to 10 people? And a lot of it was really, I only spoke to five or 10 people. But each of these places I went through, they were able to get me connected with individuals.
That's
so
awesome.
I left Michigan with 75% of my support raised. And then I left North and South Carolina, Tennessee with the rest raised.
Wow. Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Wow, that's great. Man, that's awesome. And actually, like, I did want to touch on, like, your time at SMAT, like, because you went through SMAT twice.
Yeah.
The one that was more recent
Was
like,
flight.
Was the flight aspect of it.
Yep.
But there was a number of other national staff from other countries that were staff at MAF programs. Like we had like Monclibi from Lesotho, and then we had a couple.
One in Amy.
From Mexico. So that was just cool. Like, was it fun to just like interact with them?
It was a blast, especially because I was already in Michigan a couple years prior, so I knew the state, and now I had more of them around. So there's more MAFers.
Yeah,
and we're talking about the different MAF program because when you're in one MAF program, you tend to know all about this program, but not a lot about the other programs.
Yeah.
But being with them for a full year, I got to hear about Lesotho, the MF program there, what they're doing, amazing stuff. Mexico, what they're doing there, just amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And we were able to hang out and visit several places. We went to the lakes a couple times. All of us had the same reaction about the lakes. It looks like the ocean, but it's not the ocean. Should we go in or should we not go in?
Oh man, that's hilarious. Yeah,
So,
I mean, like, and I think that it speaks a little bit into like MAF as an organization, like really wanting to like strengthen their
big time
their national staff.
Big
Like
time.
you're not the only one that they're doing that with. They're doing it with people from like various programs all over the world. So this is like super cool.
Even after I graduated from the flight program, so going to SMAT's flight program, SMAT had never received any foreign student to their flight program before. So when MAF reached out to them saying, hey, Zach is raising support to go back to his flight program, can you seek approval from the U.S. government to be able to teach foreign student because of 9/11?
Yeah.
And they got the approval. And so when I graduated, I became SMAT's first foreign student to graduate from the flight program. The following year, we had a guy from PNG, I believe, Papua New Guinea.
Okay. Yeah.
Who came to SMAT also, MAF guy, national.
What's his name? Do you know his name?
Ricky
Ricky Poggi.
Yes.
Ah, dude. Yes.
Yeah,
Oh
and so
man.
he went to the flight program also, and
That's
graduated
awesome.
and did amazing.
Oh man, I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah,
Oh man, yeah, we did a. It's funny. I did a video with him a couple years ago with Eric Paradiso. Do you remember that?
I might have seen that
Yeah.
video.
So it's just cool that man. I totally did not realize that he went to SMAT. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Sorry, there's a lot inside
inside stuff
conversation
happening.
here. Oh man, that's so cool. Well, I mean, we're coming up a little bit on time. But I wanted to ask you, like how can people support you or support Haiti? Like, what should they pray for? What should they be doing?
It'd be prayers to
Yeah.
begin with in terms of support. Can't tell you how many times I'm doing something or working on a plane even, and just something tells me look around the corner, and I look and there's a crack. I'm like, oh, thanks God, now I get to fix that and
Yeah.
keep the plane safe. Or we're about to do something and it's like we should probably stop. So prayers for sure for the program, the country. In terms of specific prayers, in all honesty, I don't have any,
Yeah,
but
that's
just
fine.
that God may use this current situation to bring change, positive change, and that his kingdom may shine. I love stargazing. I'm not sure if you knew that. And the reason why I like stargazing is when you look at the night sky, you see how majestic our Father is. But also you see how vast the darkness is. The space can be a scary place.
Yeah.
With all these emptiness, but you see stars all over that he placed up there. And to me, I like to see that in the midst of the chaos, in the midst of the darkness, he is still at work. And I see that in Haiti, even now. You see just little stories from missionaries or from other people or from friends. That's like, okay, God is working here. God is working there. God is working there. And that's kind of why I like stargazing. So just prayers that those stars may shine, that people may hear that he is still at work, regardless of what is happening. His kingdom is still advancing, even though we might not see it. And that's okay sometimes. So
That's really inspiring. Thank you for that. That was great. Great words. For people that are interested in like missions work, like youngins, like people
the young boys.
coming up after you kind of thing, but they feel like maybe their desires to what they want to do or their skill set may not be necessarily conventional, or they may feel like it's not useful in mission work. What would you say to someone like that?
There is a quote. It's not from the Bible. It sounds like it is from the Bible. There's a quote. It says that God doesn't call the equipped, but he equipped those that he calls. I mean, the gospel message, part of it is fairly simple, that he will come to you and meet you where you're at.
Right, yeah.
All you have to do is just answer. Say, yes, Papa, I will follow. So what I will tell these people is just answer. Just say yes and be willing to go wherever he may call you. Be willing to follow him in the darkness. Because as long as he's guiding you, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, don't go somewhere that he's not guiding you to. It's not going to go well. But it's the willingness to answer and follow him. I started with no training whatsoever. But here I am, a pilot mechanic for MAF.
Yeah.
And he gave me the tools so I could serve him. And all I had to do is just say yes and be diligent with what he's giving me, the opportunity he's giving me to keep on learning and keep on going at it. Yeah. So I would say just go at it.
How do you differentiate the differences between like God's calling me to this? Oh, this is not God, but this is God. Like.
So as a Haitian in our culture, we use dream a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, a lot of my friends and family, they do dream. Unfortunately, my dreams are slightly different. So for me, what I've learned is God will give me peace.
Okay. Yeah.
If I am not at peace in something, I'm out. But if he keeps on giving me peace, I'll just keep on going at it. And then the other thing, he gives me crumbs of little stuff. So the plane behind you might not know that, Stationer 6233 Zulu. That plane, when I had announced that I was going to SMAT, I had posted a picture on Facebook. It was a picture of that exact plane. When I was going to SMAT for the flight training program, that same picture was in the bathroom. So whenever I had a hard flight instead of crying in front of everybody, I would go and cry in the bathroom and look at that picture and pray to God.
Yeah.
And that he would give me strength, because there's a quote that says, "Never doubt in the dark what God told you in the light." So I like to look at little crumbs like that. Okay, he is still at work. He's still with me. I just got to keep on being faithful and keep on trusting him. And then when I took my MAF technical evaluation test, it's the test that you take to become an MF pilot.
Yeah.
It was on in that plane.
Oh, wow.
I didn't realize it until a couple months afterwards.
Cool.
Facebook brought up a memory and said, "Hey," I'm like, "Oh, I know that tail number."
Yeah.
And I went back. I'm like, "No way."
Dude, man, that's awesome.
So
I just
peace
love that.
and little crumbles that I just keep my eye out for.
Yeah. That's so great. No, that's great advice. That's great advice. Okay. I wanted to like ask just like fun random questions.
That's the rapid fire.
The rapid fire
I've
stuff.
seen you do that.
Yeah. This is like a tradition that I'm carrying on from the Nathan Jones era of
Go
this
ahead.
podcast. Yeah. Except we'll skip the books part because I know that like you said that you don't read books, and so that's cool. I'm not a huge book reader as well. So
I did start reading a book recently from Timothy Keller.
Yeah.
The devotional book. It's been pretty good.
Oh, good. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah. But anyhow,
Tim Keller's great. Well, I mean, like, tell me what kind of music do you like to listen to?
Oh, the full spectrum of it, minus rap and trap. That just doesn't work with me. My mom loved music growing up. My dad loved music growing up, so I grew up listening to a lot of music. But because I'm Haitian, we have the French culture, American culture, so I listen to a lot of French music, Haitian music, and then American music.
If you were to fire up something on Spotify, like right now, what would it be?
Right now, actually, I could tell it was playing like about an hour ago.
Sure. Well, yeah. What was
it was "The Way of Jesus" by Phil Wickman. So I love Phil Wickman, Shane. I love these
those
guys
two. Oh man.
And then there's been some country music playing for the past month or so since I was down in the South.
Okay.
Some friends introduced me to some music. I'm like, let's just go all in.
That's pretty big of you, because I know a lot of people who wouldn't even entertain the country music side of things.
Hey,
so.
if it sounds good, I'm down.
Yeah, there you go. What about well, we're on a podcast right now, but what you listen to any podcasts?
Last year I started listening. Late last year, I started listening to The World and Everything in It.
Okay.
So I try to listen to that every morning. It's about 30 minutes long, so you can exercise and listen to that.
Nice.
Good Christian news reporting, and just gives you a good view of what's happening around the world and also in the U.S. So
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Is that? Oh, that's the same podcast.
Same.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
What about? Let's go movies.
Oh yeah.
I know. A lot of my rapid fire questions are just like entertainment.
Let's go. I love movies.
Oh great. Yes, I asked the right question. I love it.
Let's see. So I could spit you my top two.
Okay.
First one would be October Sky, 1986 or 88, something like that. That one came out.
1980 October Sky?
Yeah, it came out.
I would say it probably came out in the 90s.
90s, okay.
Yeah.
So October Sky, Red Tails with the Tuskegee Airmen.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Black American fighter pilots.
Okay.
They fought in World War II, and there were some Haitians that also fought with them.
I'll have to look that one up.
So yeah.
Is that a more recent movie, or is that like
mid 2000?
Okay, I'll have to look that one up.
Mid 2000, and I'm big on sci-fi, so there's not a top currently. Obviously, Dunes you could picture.
Yeah.
And last night I watched Arrival, also by the same creator who made Dunes.
Dune. Yeah. Oh man, big sci-fi guy. Huh?
Yes, big sci-fi guy. Mm-hmm.
What about, like, do you count like Star Wars or anything like that as sci-fi, or?
I do count it as sci-fi, but I never really got into Star Wars.
Okay.
I feel like Dune series is gonna be my Star Wars.
Yeah, that's your sci-fi fantasy of choice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, I never got into Dune. Like, I just never.
I did not know anything about it until the first one came out.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, and I was like, I don't like that.
Now you can get into the book, which is like this.
Yes, I am actually planning on reading the books. Funny enough, really? But I want the third movie to come out, because I know, based on the Narnia experience I had, the books will be better than the movie. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't want to.
You don't want to ruin
dilute
you don't want
movie.
to ruin your movie experience if you read the books. I actually kind of get that. It's kind of funny because I just reopened the Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
Books. Like, I'm like,
phenomenal.
I should just, like, it's been like 20-something years since I've read this, and I'm like, oh man, there's so much I forgot that was in these books that are not in the movies. Like, and it's like making me really appreciate the books a lot more. Like, I mean, I love those movies. And so, but anyway, that's cool. All right, last question. You mentioned that you like stargazing, but like, what are some hobbies that you like to do?
We'll see. I like driving. I love going for a drive, especially if it's windy roads through the
I was
mountain.
gonna say, is this like driving like a leisure drive, or is this like I'm gonna get into a sports car? And
I'd love to get into a sports car.
Okay.
I would love that.
that seems to be more along the lines of like MAF pilots in general. Just like they're gonna get.
So
fast cars.
Formula One is a big hobby for me these days. I grew up watching soccer, American soccer.
Yeah. American soccer. I like that you said that. American soccer.
I was trying to be careful here. But I grew up watching soccer, and I still do. But I'm a big fan of Lionel Messi.
Oh yeah.
When Messi left Barcelona in 2020, I was very unhappy by how that whole process went, how they treated him, and he was going to PSG, which I did not like what PSG does to players. It's a party club basically.
Okay.
And so I was like, I'm gonna move away from club, but I'll still watch the World Cup.
Yeah.
And so the next thing I went on was Formula One.
Okay.
And it just happened in 2020. Lewis Hamilton won his 7th world title. And in 2021, we had just a banger of a season.
Wow. Yeah.
So Formula One is what I've been into, and I done kart racing, fast kart racing.
Yeah.
Did a couple when I was up in Michigan.
Yeah.
40 to 50 miles an hour.
Yes.
You discover some new muscles.
That's great.
There's
some over here and around here in Boise.
I know.
So,
I'm interested. If you're interested.
The next thing you see is just us, just like, yeah. I don't know if I have the courage to go 40 or 50 these days. I'm just like, I've gotten soft.
I must say, when I was in Michigan, I was racing with one of the MF's regional directors. He's, don't know his age, but he's up there.
Yeah.
And at one point in the track, we're not racing for track position, but we're racing for time.
Yeah.
But at one point, we ended up going uphill, and I was behind him with a right-hand turn, so I took a different line. So I took a different line to be on the inside line because I knew at the bottom of the hill is going to be a left-hand turn. Yeah. So I ended up wheel to wheel with him, hauling down the hill, and I'm sure we went over 45, 50. And I glanced over, and his eyes were fixed. He's not going to break. He's just not. He's going for it. And I'm looking, and I keep on glancing, and I already passed where I normally brake. It's like, this is not good. And I slam on my brake. I spin out of control. He goes and hits the wall and keeps on going. And he just laughs.
He's like laughing at you as you're, screaming for your life. Yes. Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
I'll check my watch afterwards. A heart rate of 170 something.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
you got your cardio workout.
Big time.
That's how that works, right?
Yep.
Is that how that works? All right. Well, I mean, do you have any final thoughts or anything you want to share? Or?
Yeah, actually. So I'm here at headquarters, which, often when we come from the field, we just come here, do training or do some meeting, and then we leave.
Yeah.
But I think it must be said, the work that you guys are doing here is just very, very important. Like, truly, you guys are the backbone. So in Haitian Creole, we have this proverb that says, Bwa Deye Bannan, which means a stick behind a banana tree. So in Haiti, when you're planting a banana, we'll often put a stick behind it to keep it straight or to keep it from falling down, kind of like give that support. So headquarters is that for us out on the field, and everything from travel department, finance, donor services, receiving all these donations and managing that. Marketing, I love marketing. I love what you guys do. Mobilizations.
We paid them to say that.
We made a mistake. Should hire me in marketing. And then the maintenance shop here. I mean, our planes, yes, we do a great job maintaining them, but if there's some heavy maintenance, like some heavy refurbish, we bring them to headquarters and they work on them for months and months on, and they make them brand new. Last year I picked up, 2 years ago, I picked up a plane here, and the thing looks so new. I'm like, wow, guys, that's just amazing. So yeah, final thought would be thank you for all that you guys are doing here. Really appreciate it.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Like, it means a lot to me, and I'm sure those who work here who will be listening to this or watching it, that's going to mean a lot to them. Because, sometimes it can get a little bit...
feel disconnected.
Yeah, disconnected, discouraging when you see all the work that's going on overseas, and you're here in the States.
Yeah.
So
Well,
but
one last comment would be, I have classmates who went to SMAT with me that are not in the mission field; they're working in the corporate field, and they're like, "Well, when I'm in the mission field," I'm like, "Well, there's unbelievers all over. Wherever you're at, you're still at work. You can still spread the gospel. You can still spread the
Amen.
joy
Amen.
of Christ."
Yeah.
And for one thing to take place, there's a quote from, I believe that's Robert Kennedy or Reagan. I think that's from Robert Kennedy. He said that few will have the greatness to bend history itself, but each of us can work in a small proportion of event. And in that total, all of these acts will be written history of this generation. And so what you guys do at headquarters enables us to fly. What we do enables, let's say, this lady to be able to go into this mountain and start a mission school or start a Bible translation. And then that Bible gets to the locals there, and then the locals take it to the next village over. So it's a chain, and that's how God's kingdom is built. It's like a house. You need bricks, you need plumbing, you need, I don't know what else you need to build a house, but you need all these things to come together.
Bricks and plumbing, that's all you need.
Bricks and plumbing, that's all you need.
Yeah.
So you need all of that in order for his work to happen.
Yeah.
And so no matter how little you're doing, it counts.
Yeah.
It counts.
Dude, are you like an old man sage? Because there's just so much wisdom.
I would love to have white hair.
It's like, oh my god,
wisdom. I don't know.
No, I love what you say. I love your thoughts. I love your
Just
insight.
stating the truth.
Yeah,
that's all.
Well, God bless you, brother.
Thank you.
It'll be fun to have you here for the next few months. Just to hang out.
High five. High five.
Oh, sure.
We're finishing on high five.
Yeah. Well, I still gotta do the close. Well, sorry we went pretty long. I was hoping not to go long, but it's just been such a fun episode with you guys. So, but if you guys have your own thoughts or your comments, definitely write those in the comments section below, or write us an email at maf.org/ no, that's the website. The email is podcast@maf.org. But if you want to watch any more episodes or anything like that, you can go to maf.org/podcast and find more information on us. But we'd love to hear you guys' feedback and your thoughts and your encouragement. So till next time, stay dry and warm because it's raining and windy right now.
Yes.
See you guys.